It's now 6:31. We will call this meeting to order. Mr. Reyes, for the record, do we have a quorum?
Yes, we do, Mr. President.
Thank you, sir. For the record, there is a quorum. We will now go into this is the announcements that this meeting of Seguin Independent School District has been duly called, and notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act of Section 551.043 of the Texas Government Code. Now I would ask Ms. Denise Rowan, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honoring the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one indivisible.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Rowan. Let us now have a moment of silence, please. Thank you. All right, we will now move on to the next agenda item. This is superintendent announcements. Mr. Rowan.
Welcome, everyone. Our students are still busy over the summer, as evidenced by members of the Seguin High School choirs who attended the Texas State Choir camp in San Marcos on July 11th through the 14th. These students received instructions from Texas State University choral staff and many of the state's finest choral educators. Campers were exposed to various choral music styles, instructed on proper vocal techniques, and performed a concert feature song written in 5 different languages. I'm doing good to do one language, so they're pretty advanced. They're playing music to this in different languages. I'm just trying to read in one. Matador Senior Christopher Ignacio was named Outstanding Camper in the tenor section. We have had hundreds of our students participating in Seguin ISD summer camps over the past 2 months. Our last camps will wrap up next week. I want to thank all the families who participated, all of our camp instructors and volunteers, and our technology department for making our summer camps a success. And I have to say that this has been an opportunity where I've been able to kind of hear and see really how many things that the district does provide. I don't think I've ever seen any district that provides as much summer activity at basically no cost to our kids and families. Mr. Sosa, I think, is a big part of that, and the community is a huge part of that. So I want to say again, kudos to that. Today was our first of 3-day leadership summit that we are hosting for our campus and district administrators. We had employees with Mo Casey on hand today to provide an accountability review. We will wrap up things at midday on Thursday as we finalize our goal setting for the year. We're going to make sure that we take the data from last year and we find out how we can make improvements so our kids can be better the next year and continue to grow on the momentum that we have now. There was about 100 people at this summit, and they were fully engaged and really seemed to want to break down and find out where their strengths and where their weaknesses were and what we need to do to move forward. I commend that leadership team and those people that were there to take the time and really make a heartfelt effort to look at some of the things that they can do better. That's very hard to do sometimes, is focus on your weaknesses and look at what you can do to improve and be better. Filing for board elections officially started on Monday. The last day for any interested community member to file for a place on the ballot for districts 1, 3, 6, and 7 is August 22nd. Packets can be picked up in my office during our regular business hours To date, we have had one community member come in and pick up a packet. Matador band practice begins tomorrow morning out in the MBLC parking lot, and football practice begins August 1st. Volleyball tryouts start August 1st, as does cross-country practice. As you can see, the new school year is fast upon us, and we are ready to go. Board members, I would like to remind you that you are invited to the Sports Boosters Club Shrimp Boil for our coaches on Thursday at 7 p.m. Also, we're looking forward to seeing you at our annual convocation ceremony on August 15th at TLU's Jackson Auditorium at 7:30 a.m. Tonight's biggest announcement is that there is more good news regarding our student achievement. We'll have an update on that later, so I'll defer comment until then. Thank you, and go Mats, and I want to make sure that we acknowledge all of the staff and what they did in order to make gains this year and to try to mimic those gains next year. That's the expectation. We want to see those jumps steady and across the board, and that's the expectation. We want to see our kids improve, and that's the main goal. And the teachers are wanting that too. So, thank you for attending.
Thank you, sir. All right, we will now move on to the next agenda item. This is the reports and information item. First one is the HVAC purchase at Kennedy Elementary. Mr. Ron.
Mr. Hilbert?
President Flores, Ms. Reyes, members of the board, Superintendent Roan, what we have is just an informational item. We spent $85,000 to replace a unit at Kennedy. It was a chiller unit, air-cooled, over 20 years old, and we had repaired this a number of times over the years. It could no longer be repaired, and as such, it needed to be replaced. It was purchased by board purchase, and therefore we're bringing this to your attention as a course of information only.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Tony.
Are there any questions for Mr. Hilbert on this? Once again, this is information item. This was, correct me if I'm wrong, this was something that was already budgeted from previous.
Yes, sir.
Okay, exactly. All right, very good, very good. Hearing no questions? Okay. Thank you, Ms. Silver. Appreciate it, sir. All right, we'll move on to the next agenda item. This is House Bill 5, Community and Student Engagement Rating. Mr. Rowe.
Ms. Legore?
School board. I'm here today, like I was last year, for an informational item on House Bill 5. We're in year 3. Since the education code changed, which gave us this to do as a school district, it requires districts to annually evaluate ourselves on different categories. You can see there between fine arts, wellness and physical education, community and parental involvement, and there are 8 categories plus a statutory reporting requirement. So we have successfully done this. We're on year 3. And what we do to implement this, just to remind you, it feels like I was just here talking about this, but it in fact has been a whole year. And we have campus leadership teams that complete the self-evaluation to determine what those ratings are based on a rubric system. The annual parent engagement survey contributes to the supporting documentation that then we use to submit to the state. We've already reported that to PEAMS this year on June 23rd, and we're required to post those ratings by August 7th. So here's where we are. This year, the campus teams rated each one of the elementaries and Ball as exemplary. That is a slight increase from last year, but all of the campuses worked very hard with those rubrics to get to the point where all the elementaries were successfully at the exemplary rating. We had a lot of conversations throughout the year about this and helped them get to that point. So that was a great effort on all their parts. For secondary campuses, all campuses are recognized, which is exactly where we were last year. However, if you look at the rubrics, their actual scores within recognized all went up. So they're within the range of recognized, but each one made gains there too. So that says a lot for each one of our campuses. And so overall, as a district, we are recognized because that's mathematically computed by each one of the rubrics, each one of those categories is averaged based on what the campus rated themselves. And then that comes down. There were 3 categories that the district itself did come out to be exemplary, which was fine arts, physical education, and community and parental involvement. And then the following 5 were all deemed recognized. So that's how we mathematically came out this year. We do anticipate, of course, we will start again after we get those results posted. Once the school year starts, we start again with the local committee reviewing those rubrics to determine if we need to make any changes. But with the upward momentum that we seem to have, I anticipate that we may very well be exemplary as a district next year if everybody works towards that, which I'm sure they will. Any questions?
Very good, Ms. Gordon. Are there any questions?
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Good job. Keep up the good work. Excellent. All right, move on to the next agenda item. This is the Spring 2016 STAR 3 through 8 results. Mr. Rowan.
Ms. Rowan?
Good evening. Board President Flores, Secretary Reyes, Mr. Rowe, Superintendent Rowe, and everybody else, all board members. I'm so excited to be here. I couldn't be more pleased to reveal all the scores to you tonight. It's just beyond my words to tell you how hard the staff has worked, how hard the principals have worked, and how everyone has pulled together to make a huge impact on student success this year. I've been debating on whether to give you the great news first or the superb news first or how to go, but I'm going to start out trying to give you an overview because many times we look at scores and the way we look at them is they're just numbers. You know, the state says we have to have 60% pass in order to meet standard. Well, okay, so what does a 70 mean? That's 10 points above, but what I want to do is always gauge us against the state. Where are we when we compare ourselves against the state and what the state has done? And so that's kind of where I put some efforts. I wanted to give you just a benchmark on how far we've come. Last year, when you were reporting on this, we had 12 categories or 12 scores that were at or above the state average. Not too bad, not too bad. This year, I'm here to tell you that we don't have 12, we don't have 20, we don't have 25, we have 31 at or above the state average. That is phenomenal. That is what you call student success. That's what you call raising the bar and making every student successful. So that is kind of the overall arching. We have some campuses, for example, we have 2 campuses, Kinnicky and Weiner. They beat the state average in every single category. I'm waiting for some applause. All right. Anyway, that's great. You know? So let's move on from there. We have McQueenie and Rodriguez that beat 5 of the 8 categories. Not too shabby. Okay, then we want to go on. We have Vogel, who met 4 of the 8 categories. We're talking about McQueenie and Vogel that were, what I hate to say, it's just taking everything I can, they were IR. They were improvement required. They were under the state's observation and rule and guides. This year, they can proudly say that they are former IR, because that is just not going to happen for them this year. We can't do that alone. We have to do that all as a team. It's the board, it's the superintendent, it's the central office, it's especially the principals, and then especially those teachers, and then add about 15 or 20 especiallys to that, and you get to the student level, because that's who are making this happen. And we just have to provide the support for them. We can continue on too. We have Barnes and Jefferson that may beat the state in one category, and we have our district that beat the state category, and let's see, at this district level, 3rd and 5th grade, both in reading and math beat the state level. That's the 3rd and 5th in reading and math. So these are just some things that I wanted to give you a backdrop. So as we go through these slides and look at the scores that we're about to look at, you can get some perspective to it. And you can understand that, okay, maybe it looks like a 60, but really a 60 is a lot more than a 60, because the state, there's one more thing I wanted to, well, maybe I'll just close with that. But let me just go ahead and start going through our slides. I was so excited I forgot my clicker. We can see here that this is the state. I'm sorry, the district. And it gives you 2 years running. Last year, the district reading scores, this is overall, 3 through 8, in the area of reading and math, including writing, science, and social studies. We did not include Algebra 1, which 100% of our Algebra 1 students passed, so that would make it even go up further. But we're trying to compare the same from last year as what we did this year. And those were not included last year, so we're not including them this year. So in reading, we went up 6 points. In math, we went up 9 points. In writing, we went up 1 point. We stayed the same in science, and in social studies, we dropped off by 1 point. Those 3, we kind of call statistically equal, but we're going to, one we're statistically equal on the plus side, and 1 on the negative side, and then 1 just completely equal, which gives us an overall growth of 5 percentage points. That's great. That's great as a district. It takes a lot to move a district. And again, the state standard was 60. So you can see we fell a little below. We're going to be working on our writing at the elementary and social studies at the secondary. And then we'll go on to Jefferson. Quite proud of Jefferson. Reading up 11 points. Math up 15 points. As I say, we're going to be working on the writing. Across the district, we struggled in the area of 4th grade writing, so we are going to be addressing that this year. Science up 21 points for an overall growth of 12 points. That's phenomenal. I wish Miss White was here, because I just want to hug her. Move on to Kennedy. Look at this. We already had a high-performing campus. They could have just skated along for the year. They didn't have anything to worry about. But did they do that? No. Reading up 10 points. Math up 9 points. Writing up 3 points. Science up 26 points for overall growth of 11 points. Again, I would love to hug Miss Moreno. Then, not to be outdone, we have McQueenie. Reading up 22 points. Math up 31 points. Writing up 11 points. Science up 25 points. For a combined growth of 25 points overall. Not too shabby. We can move on to Potlawn. As we all know, we've been concerned about Potlawn. There was a lot of turnover. There were some things that were going on at that campus that kind of got in the way of some of the students learning, and we feel really bad about that. But we have plans in place and things that are going to be happening to help Potlawn this coming year. Reading, they were down 1 point. Again, that's statistically about the same. Math up 4 points. Writing down 2. We were very concerned about the science because we had some things going on in the science department, and we need to get those scores right back up. And then the combined was statistically, pretty close, down 2 points. But we do have some work to do there, and we will make that happen. Rodriguez, Their reading was already really high. They tried to maintain it, but had a couple point drop. So we call that kind of statistically equal. But look at the math, up 17 points. Writing, a little bit down, and same, I told you about that. Science, we had a turnover of a teacher there, and we had some things that we had to take care of. And we felt really good that we made the 62%. But we do have some work to do there, with an overall growth of 4 points. And Vogel, another one of our shining stars. Reading, up 10 points. Math, up 15 points. Writing, up 2 points, although I told you we do have some work to do. Science, up 6 points for an overall growth of 10 points. Way to go. So I know if you feel like I do, you just want to grab those principals and start hugging them right now. It's not about the principals. It's not really about the teachers. What it's really about is the students and their student success. And so that's what makes me want to hug them so much. Then we have Weinert, another high-performing campus that could have just, maintained, but they were not going to stand for that. They're up 4 points in reading, up 17 points in math, 6 points in writing. We're going to be talking to them, see what they did. Science, up 15 points for a total growth of 9 points. So overall, I think you can see that our elementary campuses came on strong. Now, turning to our 6th through 8th grade, they didn't make the large gains that they have or possibly could have, but we're looking forward to that happening this coming year. Reading was down 2 points, but you can see that they came, this is breezy. They're up 4 points in math, up 10 points in writing. And remember I told you that we were struggling a little bit in writing, but look what they did. And then they pretty much maintained in the other two, science and social studies, with an overall growth of 2 points. So I think Ms. Carter's here. Yay, Ms. Carter, I want to hug you too. That 10-point surge in writing is difficult to have happen. So you can tell that she put some time and effort into that, and her teachers and students as well. And then we have Barnes. Barnes has always been a pretty high-performing campus, you can see here. And they were just kind of teetering around the same places that they have been in the past. But they did have an overall drop of about 2 points overall. So when you average them two together, they came out equal. So we do have plans in place to make the secondary have to look at the growth that the elementary experienced. It's going to be, we look at this as we're sending the best product we absolutely positively can to those junior highs, and I think they're set for high performance next year. All right, so then it gets back to, I told you about that we compared ourselves to the state and how we were. This is my grand finale. This is my big, okay? So I hope it comes across that way. When we're looking at scores, with all these games, you probably thought, well, everybody did that. We outperformed the state, but probably everybody in the state went up.
Yeah.
So that's what we're all thinking, because little old Seguin couldn't be outperforming everybody, but I'm telling you we did. So let's take a look at this. In reading, Seguin increased their scores in grades 3, 4, and 8. And they had a little bit of a drop, just a couple of points, but a little bit of a drop in grades 5, 6, and 7. The state increased in grade 4. And they had a drop in grades 3, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm almost out of breath after saying all their losses. So we knocked it out of the park, guys. We knocked it out of the park. The state's going down, Seguin's going up, and we're ahead of the state. Let's look at math. Seguin ISD increased in grades 3, 4, 5, 7, 8. We went down a little bit in grade 6. The state and I'm even giving them the benefit of the doubt, they increased or stayed the same. Grades 4 and 5. They decreased in grades 3, 6, 7, 8. Do we see a trend here? Our scores are going up, the state scores are going down. In writing, are we ready? Although I told you we're struggling in writing, right?
Right.
We still increased a little bit in writing in both 4th and 7th grade. The state decreased nowhere. Did I say increase? Increase nowhere. Decreased grades 4 and 7. So you see what we're saying here, ladies and gentlemen? We're saying that Seguin is on the move. Seguin is doing a great job. And we need to scream it from the highest rafters. No more can they kick us around, you know? We're right there. We're going places. And we need to be thanking our students, patting them on the back, thanking our teachers, thanking our principals. And that's where our direction is going. So if you have any questions for me, I am eager to respond. And do remember, these are preliminary scores. But typically, they may change a point or two. Okay? So, that being said.
Awesome. I'm going to open it up to board members. Start with, yes, sir. Mr. Holt.
Last year, we received very few distinctions. Have they announced any of the distinctions yet?
No, sir. This, the plan is that they will release that August, correct me if I'm wrong, 12? 12.
Probably the 15th, 12 for internal.
Yeah, internal is the 12th, and then for the public will be the 15th. It's really kind of sad because the state has pushed everything back so far this year that we're already starting our next school year, and they still haven't let us know what we've done. They know, they've got the numbers, they've already given them to us, so they know, but I don't know. Here we go.
Any other questions? So I have a few comments before. No other questions?
I have a question.
Oh, I have a few comments. Okay.
Go ahead. I just want one quick
Yes,
question.
sir.
Can you explain the difference in the standard? I mean, we had scores going up, but you said a 60 is different than a 60 was last year. Can you talk about that? Because I'd like to make sure that everybody fully understands that, because it is kind of complicated.
Yes, as I think I explained maybe earlier or maybe another board meeting, because I was a little nervous, you know, we've got the standard going up. What we have is the scale score stays the same. So let's say you have to have a 10 to pass. You had to have a 10 last year to pass. But what it takes to make that 10, if you think about a basket of cherry tomatoes, you go to the grocery store and you buy a basket of cherry tomatoes, and it's all full, and you get home and you count your cherry tomatoes, and each one of those tomatoes represents a question. This basket is still the same, but it took 8 cherry tomatoes to fill up this basket last year, but it took 10 cherry tomatoes to fill up that basket the following year, which means they had to answer more questions correctly. They raised the standard. You probably saw that in the news, where they kept the standard at the same for about 4 years. And as I recall, Seguin and some schools were going down every single year. So what we had to do was we had to stop that decline, turn around and get the upper trajectory at a time when they're raising the standard. So we were nervous about that, you know? But hey, nervous no longer. You know, it was more difficult to pass the test, and we had more people pass the test. And on top of that, I could stand up here all night and go on and on. We had a meeting today where we talked about meeting the advanced standard, and we looked at from 4th grade to 5th grade. And this is only, we say, well, 5th grade had 2 tests. No, we were looking at the first test. They went from having approximately 42 kids reach the advanced level, which means they only missed 1 or 2 questions, to having 100 and something, 102 or 104. I don't remember the exact numbers, so I really wasn't planning on talking about that. But it more than doubled. So we had more perfect papers, we had more students pass. No matter how you slice this cake, it's going to come up with icing on it. It's just great. And I want the corner piece.
Be fine for that one. I have a couple of comments. I think it's, last year, for some time, obviously the scores have been going in the wrong direction, and this board has been tasked with, and rightfully so, has been tasked to improve the scores and improve the morale. And changes have been happening in time. And regardless of what people out there are saying, that we are not teaching our children, and that the morale is bad, and that bottom line is that we're not teaching our children, which obviously we are. So please, Mr. Rowan, Mrs. Rowan, tell your principals, tell your teachers, and for sure the students that we know that they could do it, and we're proud of them, and we believe in them, and we're not satisfied. We're never satisfied as a human being. We always want to be better and better every year, and I know that's what everybody here wants. That's why everybody's here today, because they want to see these scores, and that's awesome. So kudos, good job. And Mr. Rowan, we're going to provide whatever assets and needs that these teachers and principals will need to improve where we need to improve, and keep up the good work, because we knew y'all could do it. So.
Well, we had our meeting today, and just let you know that nothing improves morale like success.
Of course.
And there was energy in that room, and there was high morale.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Mr. Rowan.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. Mr. Reyes.
I think that deserves a standing ovation.
Very good. Yeah,
Really?
very good for them. Yeah. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Please.
I'd just like to thank all the principals in the school for actually going out there and giving it their best. I know I've been in Potline, and I've seen those people work real hard, stay late, and congratulate all the students, because they really want to learn, and all we got to do is give them the opportunity, and we'll all be surprised. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir, Mr. Rowe.
Y'all fact check me on this, because I'm not sure. But this is one point that I told him personally, but you told me not to say anything, but I'm going to say it. The bottom line is Potline was struggling. And this man came and said, can we come over and tutor? And he got his kids and family and a few friends, and I don't know who all he had over there. They made tacos, they did all kinds of stuff. And I go by there, and they all got a classroom, and they're working with these kids. Now, that may not sound like a lot, but let's use the data to drive our decision. The first test was that they had kids come back, and we had more passers after the second administration than we did after the first. What I'm saying is that they made an impact. All the kids got instruction for 36 weeks, and we had this number of passers total. Then we had some volunteers come in, and they took some worksheets and some initiative and volunteered a Saturday and brought some people in. And then after the second retest, we had more kids pass than the first time. And the kids came on Saturday. And the parents came on Saturday, because we had a problem. If we can continue to do that, not just at Potline, but at every campus, we will continue momentum, and we will get quicker to the point of being in the top 10% in the state. And that's my goal, make no mistake. Now, we've had hiccups, but it's dedication like that. It's volunteerism. I mean, he didn't want me to talk about it. The point is, though, if we don't give examples and we don't talk about the good things that happened, then nobody's going to know about it. And if nobody knows about it, then nobody thinks that it's going to make a difference. And it truly does. So, anyway, I just wanted to say that. So thank you. And if there's anyone in this room that was here that did that, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Definitely. Thank you, Mr. Ron. All right, no other comments? Thank you, Mrs. Rowan, the presentation. Now we'll move on to the next agenda item. This is audience with the board. Seguin ISD Board of Trustees designates a time for audience participation at the beginning of each meeting to hear persons who desire to make comments in accordance with the board policy BED local. Those wishing to speak shall sign up before the meeting begins, stating the concern or noting the agenda item they wish to address. Audience participation is limited to 5 minutes. Audience of more than 5 persons shall appoint a representative, and the board shall not deliberate any subject that is not posted on the agenda. And first individual to speak is Mr. Luis Moreno in regards to general comments and ethics.
That's a very tough act to follow, Ms. Rowan. Congratulations. And I wish we could say the same about the governance and transparency of the school district. And I have so much to say in so little time, so I'll do my best. And please cut me off at the 5 minutes. First, some good news, Mr. Rowan. In case y'all aren't aware, this is something that I'd like for the school district to consider. If y'all haven't started looking into it already, I think it would be a good opportunity for our hardworking families. But the Department of Agriculture and USDA, they have a program that they're starting, which is the Community Eligibility Program. If the school district signs up for that, it would allow all of the students in the school district to be able to eat for free. I checked TDA's website today. The school district is eligible. For me personally, that would save me about $400 a year in food expenses for my daughter, and I'm assuming that would apply to a lot of our families across your district, so I would certainly encourage y'all to look into that. The other thing that I wanted to talk about was, when I was here last month, I know I made some comments about QZAB, and I know Mr. Roan in his blog made some comments about me being a Navarro resident. Absolutely, I'm a Navarro resident, but I sure do bleed black and gold. There's no doubt about that. And I think you also forgot to mention that I'm a president of the McQueen SPVO and a member of the Texas Lutheran University Board of Regents. So this is my community, this is my home. I'm going to continue coming and speaking in front of you all. I am concerned too about some calls that were made trying to get me to back off and stop making comments to the school district. I will absolutely not be silenced. I will keep coming every time because it's my constitutional right, and so I'm going to do it and let you all know how I feel every day and on any issue that is being discussed. So the last time that I was here, I was in opposition to the scoreboard. The reason I was in opposition to the scoreboard, and I didn't mention this because I was focused more on QZAB, is because 69% of the students in our district are economically disadvantaged. I do not oppose us being able to have equipment for our students, but I want to make sure that we're doing it within the means of our budget. And so that's the reason why I said what I said. And in the blog that was posted by the superintendent, it made it seem like I was in opposition to the stadium. Not once did I bring up the stadium, except for the fact that QZAP funds mentioned stadium, or the QZAP funds, the application mentioned HVAC and LED retrofits, not the stadium or the Jumbotron. So that's the only comment that I made about that. And since then, and the reason I'm here today is because I'm more concerned now about where we are in terms of the process that was used to select the company that is supposed to be doing the renovations for the stadium. The competitive nature of the public purchasing arena and the significant amount of public funds that are used in the school district require that ethical standards be incorporated into the foundation of all purchasing functions. Purchasing personnel and district staff should avoid even the appearance of favoritism or other ethical misconduct. That said, the citizens of this district have lost faith and confidence in this administration's ability to meet these basic ethical requirements. 2 companies responded to the district's request for qualifications for design build services for Matador Stadium. The first company was E3 Integral, and the second one was GT Grandstands. GT Grandstands designs and manufactures grandstands and bleachers for spectator seating. Some of the products they offer include press boxes, existing structure renovations, and other custom services. The other company, E3 Integral, focuses on energy reduction, and their goal, according to their website, is to be the highest quality
best value provider of solutions and services in the energy efficiency marketplace in Texas. The proposals were evaluated by Mr. Rohn, Mr. Hilbert, Mr. Alexander, and Mr. Pizzano. These gentlemen gave the company that specializes in energy efficiency 95 points, and the company with actual stadium experience 85 points. As board members, I hope you have questioned the evaluation scores provided by these gentlemen. I would want to make sure that you have hired the most qualified company for the proposed project. As members of the community, it's hard to know what those evaluations actually were because we haven't had access to those documents. And I would love to see what those evaluations look like because it's hard for me to believe that members of the staff with the qualifications that they have would rank a company that has absolutely no experience with stadium renovations higher than a company that actually does work related to stadiums. The public is concerned about the appearance of favoritism due to the fact that Mr. Rohn contracted with E3 while superintendent in Pecos. Okay, and so these are all just comments that I wanted to make, and I'll close with, it's the board's responsibility to be the checks and balances on the administration. If that power goes unchecked, we're on a direct path to a dictatorship, and we certainly don't want that. We know that we have to be able to have the flexibility in terms of academics when it comes to governance and operations of the school district. You want to make sure that you as a school board can provide those checks and balances. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right, next citizen to speak is Ms. Kathy Biker with the QSAP.
Good evening. As co-president of the Sports Booster Club, I've been approached by several people concerned about the Sports Boosters' participation in the QZAB application. So the Sports Booster Club signed this document promising to give $100,000 in equipment, volunteer hours, and financial support to the school district for 15 years. This support is consistent with what we already do. We've gathered information, listened to those who were more knowledgeable than us on this funding, and then we met as a club. We met last Thursday and we discussed this issue thoroughly to make sure that we understood exactly what our participation meant. As a booster club, we came to a consensus that we are committed to the QZAB funds. And as always, we appreciate any and all upgrades to our athletic program. We feel our students deserve only the best.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, next citizen to speak is Copeland
Real.
Real, yes, sir. All right, I'm getting it right.
How you doing?
How you doing, sir?
All right. I want to thank the board members for allowing me to share my thoughts on the agenda items involving the QZAB issuance resolution. For the past months, I've watched the Board of Trustees and the superintendent resort to what I feel are underhanded tactics in pursuit of getting a scoreboard added to the stadium. One of the rules of ethics that a board member agrees to follow when they accept the position of a trustee is, I will be responsive to the community by seeking its involvement in district affairs and by communicating its priorities and concerns. The Board of Trustees failed in communicating with the community concerning the June agenda items involving the QZAB program and the stadium scoreboard. I will address primarily my concerns with the scoreboard tonight. Through the Public Information Act, I was able to obtain emails concerning a demonstration given by Dectronics involving the placement of a Jumbotron at Matador Stadium. This demonstration was slated for May 17th. On May 13th, Public Information Officer Sean Hoffman invited every trustee to attend this demonstration. What was discussed and who was there, we won't know because no records were kept. However, Sean Hoffman, Mr. Rohn, and the board members, if you truly wanted the community's involvement, you should have told us about this meeting. Instead, we didn't find out about the scoreboard or the QZAB until 72 hours prior to the June meeting. At the June board meeting, we heard from 2 citizens that using the QZAB funds for the scoreboard may violate rules of the QZAB program. We also heard from the district's chief financial officer, Mr. Hilberg, advising that there's no way the district could afford a stadium upgrades or a scoreboard without using a debt service. The board still voted 6-1 to enter into negotiations for a scoreboard package. The next day, TEA got involved and issued a warning to the district that stated that, in fact, the funds from the QZAB program cannot be used for a scoreboard. Instead of letting the scoreboard issue die, the superintendent decided the best course of action was to spend more taxpayer monies on legal advice. Now the scoreboard will cost $1.5 million plus this expenditure. So that brings us to tonight. Mr. Sage from Anderson Kurt LLP will give his presentation on how we can now afford purchase of the scoreboard with cash. Let me paraphrase the letter Mr. Sage wrote to the Board of Trustees. We recommend using the QZAB proceeds on stadium renovations and other district needs. This will allow the district to use cash funds to buy the scoreboard. Didn't Mr. Hilbert just last month tell us that the district could no way afford a scoreboard without using a debt service? Where did this law firm find the $1.5 million extra dollars in the general fund that Mr. Hilbert missed? I have no idea. I ask the board tonight to postpone entering into negotiations or incur further debt until the new high school is completed. The completion date is scheduled for 2017, and I'm sure we can live without those stadium upgrades and a scoreboard till then. It may be painful, but we can suck it up. This delay will give the superintendent time to come up with a comprehensive plan on what stadium upgrades will be needed, and it will also allow the trustees to share these plans with the public. In closing, I'd like to share with the board the definition of trustee. It's simply one to whom something is entrusted. In this case, we have entrusted you with our community's most valuable treasure, our children. We trust that you will provide the means so our children get the best education from the wisest of scholars, that our children will learn in a safe and comfortable setting, and that their studies will be both challenging yet enjoyable. When the board approves future expenditures, please take into consideration these entrusted duties instead of purchasing ego-driven cool projects. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right. And that was the last individual to sign up to speak. So with that, it is... Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Miss Denise. Okay, I want to chalk this up. Cretton.
You were going to skip me.
My apologies on that one. Sorry about that.
That's okay. All right, so one of my favorite Seguin High School teachers passed away over the weekend, and I'm doing this with him in mind. So, in high school, I learned that I could make a difference. My teacher, Mr. Rechko, was always getting us to think and then do. Want the school to recycle? Gather the paper and take it to the recycling bin yourself. Think the river needs to be cleaned? Get a trash bag. And at the time, the environment was a big thing, and styrofoam was a big issue, and he encouraged us to research it. So we did that research, and he set up something where we talked to the administration and we talked to the food service people, and they listened to us, which was crazy for us. And then he got a lot of us to go to our first school board meeting. I think Mr. Reyes was on the school board at the time, and we fought the dress code, and we won. And that meeting was so big it had to be in the high school cafeteria. And it was empowering. The world that seemed so big and so scary could be broken down into these little things that we can do. Not long ago, one of my friends said that I should run for school board, but don't worry, my district is not even up for election. And my daughter daughter chimed in, "Mommy, you should do that." Now, she hates for me to go to meetings, so I thought that was really funny. And she said, "No, that would be okay, and I will be your assistant." Mom, it's so important. She's 8, and she knows. Which brings me to you guys. You have a huge job, and you have an important job. And your job, indirectly, is to make sure that kids have teachers like Mr. Rechka. Teachers who have the training, and the pay, and the morale, and the supplies, and the support they need to change lives. Education changes people's lives, so please be energized and excited about that thought and about the possibilities. But please be open to the interest of citizens like me. And please don't dismiss us by saying that we spoke on social media. For some people, it's the only voice they feel they have. Please encourage them and please answer their questions and ask questions on their behalf. Ask them here, where everybody gets to hear the answer. There's a lot of work to be done. It takes research, it takes new ideas, community support, and we need you and you need us. Us, citizens, us out here. I know a lot of you from outside this room, and I know the amazing things you've done. I've interviewed you about LULAC and single member districts. I've worked on presidential campaigns and getting the high school bonds passed with some of you, and I look forward to future projects. But I know we're going to disagree, and some things are going to be awkward, and this upcoming school board election is going to be awkward. For my part, I can tell you that I'm going to tell you things like, I think we need to wait on getting a Jumbotron. That being said, if you get one, I would be the first in line to help kids make videos for it. So please don't mistake us, who ask questions and do research and talk to you, as naysayers or negative. We're not. We're passionate about this town and this district and these kids. And this isn't a Mr. Rome thing. I've never actually met Mr. Rome. And last week, my time hop reminded me of Facebook 1 year ago, where my Facebook post was, "We have a new superintendent, yay!" We have a chance to do new things. But I have a lot of questions, and that doesn't make me negative. That makes me a product of Seguin ISD. I got that golden education from teachers like Rob Rechko, who said, "Ask and do." This is a time of enormous change in our district. Different people, different ways, huge projects. Please include the community in your conversation. Please give us details, and don't be offended when we ask for details. This is our community, and we'll work with you. We'll do anything that you need done, but we need things from you. Openness, transparency, inquisitiveness, energy, and the willing to do hard things and ask hard questions. Let us help you. So, we're asking, and we're willing to do.
Thank you, ma'am. That was the last one. I'm sorry. Thank you. All right, we will now move on to the next agenda item, which is to adjourn this regular meeting at 7:24. We will adjourn this meeting. And so for the record, this meeting is adjourned. We will now call to order a public hearing at 7:24. So this public hearing is to present the optional flexible school day application for Seguin High School and Mercer Bloomberg Learning Center. Mr. Rowe.
Oh, there he is. Hi, man. Okay.
Mr. Flores, the school board. Tonight I'm going to introduce our Mr. Hector Escobar to talk about the optional flexible school day program. What this is basically a way that the state lets us do attendance accounting for a select group of students that may or may not attend school for the entire school day. There are requirements. He's going to kind of go over those, but it'll let us take kids that are in difficult situations or maybe down to the last 1 or 2 credits, those kind of things, and it's really how we account for them in our PEIMS accounting. So this is something available from the state for us to take advantage of. Basically allows us to receive regular funding for students that maybe only are served in a short period of time. We're going to focus of the day or of the week. And so he's going to talk about how this will impact with our kids that are in some credit recovery situations. Very, very small group. As part of the application process, we're required to have a public hearing So when we file for the application, we can state that this has occurred. So there's no approval necessary, we just need to present it to you, and present it to the public of how we're going to address those issues. So I'm going to introduce Mr. Hector Escobar to talk about this program.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening, President, Board President Flores, Superintendent Roan, and the Board of Trustees. We are petitioning really the support of the board and the administration for the flexible school day program. Now let me tell you where I got these ideas. It's very simple. I've had kids sit in my office and tell me to my face, "Sir, I can't come to school the next 3 days." Why? You're crazy. You gotta come to school. I gotta work, sir. I gotta work. We have no electricity. We have this, we have that. It's happening in our schools, in my school, on a daily basis, if not every other day. Those kids have to choose between school and work to support their families. It's not just one kid, guys, it's many kids. So we have to be very creative how we can keep that kid in school and be able to help their families. So this is what the flexible school day program does. We look at unique situations where kids really do have to work, and we actually interview the parents, bring them in to the application process. They have to actually meet the criteria. 9 out of 10 times these kids are behind. And guess what happens if I just say, well, you gotta do what you gotta do. I'll never see that kid again. That's what's gonna happen. But if I turn around, or we turn around and say, hey, there's this program that would be great for you, they're gonna listen, and they're gonna say, you know what, my education's important. And guess what, when I tell that parent that, they're gonna turn around and say, that sounds great. He can help the family and still finish his high school. So this is what this is about. It's about opportunities for Seguin High School students to stay in school and finish. And that's why we're excited about this. I know that when I came on board last year, we didn't have this, and I know a lot of school districts have it. You almost have to nowadays. And it's not just for those kids that are in trouble. It's also used for early college high school kids who are done and in transition and already go to their community college, and they come back and they do the flexible school day because they have a Monday, Wednesday, and Friday schedule. So we want to bring this opportunity to Seguin High School. So I don't know if Mr. Thank you, sir. So basically, what is it? They have to meet a criteria. Sometimes when a kid drops out, and we know they've dropped out, and we go see them, because I know Ms. Legore and the team, we go visit kids. We find them everywhere. And they tell us, I'm not coming back because I'm too old. Or I'm done with school, I don't want to be there a whole day, etc., etc. The flexible school day allows them to come in when they can. They only have to meet a certain amount of required minutes. And by the way, we have it at the freshman center, well, the old freshman center now, but we're going to have it there in a computer lab. It's all computer based. They can just park here at MBLC, walk over there, do their classes, walk out of there, go straight to work. And no one will see them, if they're embarrassed about it. So we've actually made that commitment to be able to have it in a place where maybe a 19-year-old wants to come back and still do this. So that's something that we took into consideration when we looked at this. Basically, I'm not going to read all this to you, but the bottom line is TEA allows us, as Mr. Lewis said, and we track the minutes and we keep the population down a little low. We don't want 100 kids in there. We have to be able to service those kids, not only academically, emotionally. We have to be able to give them advice about things that are going on in their life. I had a young lady tell me one day, well, I can't come because I have to take care of my kid because my kid is sick. And they can't accept him in daycare. So miss 3 days. That kid, if the kid is constantly sick, we have to do something for that student because they probably do need to be with their child. So those are the things that we look at. So go ahead, sir. But basically, the students can come anytime between 7:30 and 7 o'clock at night. We can flex our teachers to be in that program. Teachers can come in at 1, work till 7:30. Some work in the morning. Basically, this costs no money. We take existing staff and we repurpose them to that program. So we're not going to hire anybody. We're going to just teach the people that are in that program how to use the credit recovery program. So that's the good news. No money, Mr. Rohn. Good news. Basically, we want to target the kids, if they want to seek employment, child care, I talked a little bit about that. How about a documented history of medical? There are some kids that don't want to be around a lot of students. And I see those kids, and they're very withdrawn, and they tell me, sir, I just want to finish high school. I don't want to be here. Can I just go in a room and work by myself? Those are kids that can actually take advantage of that as well. You know, it's not just if you're behind or if you're embarrassed. It serves a lot of purposes. So another thing that, you know, like I said, if kids want to return in a non-traditional setting, we can always accommodate that as well. The traditional attendance, basically the rule is to receive instruction for a minimum of 4 hours a day. Really, it's 45 minutes, as long as it actually averages out to 600 minutes a week. But we want to make sure they're at least here more than 45 minutes. We don't want to lose them. We want to make sure they're hungry. And I'll tell you a story about the former school I was at. We had kids in this program that after maybe 6 months said, I'm ready to go back to the regular school. And guess what? They went back and they graduated. Then I've had kids that have been in this program since freshman year till senior year and graduated from this program. It's all possible. It's up to the kids, you know, and what they can do. So we are going to have an application process. We're not just going to say, hey, you're going to FSD. We're also going to call it, by the way, SAVE. We're going to save kids, Seguin Academy for virtual education. We're saving kids. So that's really, I thought that would be a good name for it. So basically, we're going to have an interview process. The parent has to be interviewed. We have to go to the parent. We'll go to the parent. And then they have to fill out an information, which Ms. Bidding, by the way, Ms. Biddings will oversee the program. She's very familiar with MBLC protocols and all those things. So, and they have to be interviewed. They have to be 1 year behind, you know, traditionally in their cohort, trying to catch up. So these are kids that are highly at risk. We're not just going to put anybody in there just because they don't behave in the classroom. That's not the idea behind this. It's to really help kids. And of course, they'll be in the credit recovery lab. You know, they'll be in there. Right now, the idea is, or the plan is to take 25 students. And guess what, folks? We have 25 students already. You know, last year they came to us, asked, and we've kind of taken down notes, and we're ready to take these students once TA approves this. So we already have this number of kids to start working with. And that is it. I hope that I answer, you know, I'm here to answer any questions from anybody about this flexible school day program.
All right, so we'll open up to the board first. Any questions? I think I saw Mr. Thomas.
Yeah, I had a question. You mentioned a number of students that you would start out with. Is the program projected to grow over time?
The program can grow, sir. The only thing we have to really keep track of is the attendance, because there are attendance requirements in the program. We don't want it to make sure it's too big, where, you know, like I said, we have to also service their emotional needs, you know, but yes, there is a potential to grow past 25 students.
And is that capped at any time, or is there a maximum number of students allowed in the program?
There really isn't, but again, we have to be very, very careful about the number of students that are in the program. That's going to mean more faculty, it'll be more resources, and of course more handbook attendance that we need to actually look at. But yeah, we can definitely, if there's a need there, of course, we can increase the enrollment. We have to just, you know, we're starting out with 25 just to keep it under control, but when the need is there, we will be able to open it up.
Yes, sir. Mr. Gideon.
I would just like to thank both of you from the bottom of my heart. There are kids out there that have been forgotten. You know, there are kids out there that survival is the most important thing for them right now, not school. And for both of you to go as far as trying to introduce this type of program, I know they've worked in other schools. I've talked to some people from San Antonio, you know, they have a bigger problem than we do. And where some of these kids don't even have parents. They're raising their own little brothers and sisters. So I appreciate it, and thanks a lot for thinking about those kids, because sometimes they're forgotten just simply because they got a bad deal in life. Thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
Mr. Holt.
And just briefly explain how this differs from what MBLC service the MBLC provides in reference to some of these children, these students.
While MBLC is a non-traditional, you know, alternative education setting, the flexible school day program stays at Seguin High School. Those students can actually come Mondays and Wednesdays, and fulfill their minutes. They can come Tuesdays and Thursdays, fulfill their minute, or they can come Mondays through Friday, and 45, maybe an hour and a half. They have a flexibility of coming in whenever they can, as long as they fulfill their time. And also, they're eligible to participate in our CTE classes. They're in a flexible school day program. So, and we need them too because of the endorsements and so forth.
And then you spoke several times about providing an emotional help to these kids as well. And I know our counseling staff is loaded down already. Do you see the need for additional counselors at the high school to help with this program?
Yeah, I mean, at this time, I think, the counselors are still familiar with those students, so they're part of the same cohort. But, I would like to get some outside, community outreach agencies to come out and talk to the kids. I mean, I think that's kind of, Ms. Biddings, that's going to be one of her jobs to look at overall what resources we can get into the program, Yeah, and part of a mentors program and all that. So, yeah, they definitely need that as well.
And along with this, I know some of the students need work and haven't acquired jobs, and I think that it's something that we can get together and put together a program where we have businesses around the community that would like to hire these students, because a lot of these companies in this community would like to assist these students and keep them in school and give them an opportunity and say, hey, look, we'll work around your schedule. If you need to go in for an hour this day, we'll let you off at this time to do it. So I think that the possibilities out there. And I know that Mrs. Biddings, being in control of, she's a wonderful lady, and I've watched her just work over the years, and I know she'll get involved in that. But that's something to look at.
Yeah, don't worry, Ms. Biddings is still the associate principal. She's just going to oversee this part as well. She's not going there full time, Mr. Holt. Calm down.
I understand, but
I can't lose her.
I'm overseeing it. I know it's going to happen, brother.
But you know what? What you point out is excellent, because if we let the community know this program is around, there's people out, even, and it just comes to mind, I had a student in a former district that, we let the community know about the public hearing, came by, worked in a trailer, owned a trailer park, hired like 3 of our students, and the students were very happy there, and he was very happy with them. So it's just, a matter of them knowing, and they say, you know what, if I'm going to let them, they can come in from 10 to 4 and work, I'm good with that, But of course, on the other side, we got to make sure they're getting their credits, or else they'll be thrown back into the regular school environment. So, but that's why there's a lot of support, and we're not going to let these kids fail. We're going to be there making sure that if they're part of that first original 25, they will graduate. And that's our whole objective, to make sure they don't wind up on the streets or not having anything to look forward to. But if they graduate, that's what we're here really to do for them.
Well, I understand you have to set a number, but Bob, there's a 26 student. Don't let them
no.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Good, thank you. Any other comments? Last comment, Mr. Escobar. Thank you for bringing this program to Seguin ISD with your experiences from the other district. And of course, obviously, Ms. Biddings is well known in this community, so I know she'll be able to get the support from the city of Seguin, and there's a lot of people in here that are willing to help, and so I know that. So thank y'all. And now I will turn it over. Let me make sure I get this right. Where to go? Because this is a public hearing, I am now going to turn it over to the audience. Are there any comments or questions from the audience? Once again, are there any comments or questions from the audience?
I'd like to say I would support any program that would keep a child in school. It's very important for education. Whatever we can do, flexible hours, nights, whatever. They need that certificate.
Here, noted. Yes, sir.
Sir, and I want to also point out to the board, and it's not just for students that are diverse dropping out. I look at it. Where's Alex? Mr. President, there. He went to TLU. This can also be served for students that are already going to colleges, and they can take their flexible classes, their high school classes. They can take them in this program as well. That way, if they have a Monday, Wednesday, and Friday class at TLU or Alamo colleges, Tuesdays and Thursdays they can do their flexible school day for their elective classes they need to graduate from high school. So it's not just for kids that are on the verge of dropping out. And I do want to point out that the kids will be able to work from home in this program. If they come in and then they get out of work, they can just log on online and work on their courses. So that's going to help them. That's why that program is very flexible.
Very good, very good, very good, excellent. Questions? So one last time for the record, are there any other questions or comments from the audience? Yes, sir.
I would just like to say thank you to the administration from Seguin ISD. I just graduated, and I do not have one complaint about the administration from my senior year getting to end. I always love y'all. I think y'all are great, and especially with this new program, I think it's fantastic. I knew a few friends that struggled with this, and so I think this new program is fantastic. So thank you to, of course, y'all three and anybody else in the administration that's here. And then when y'all get back to work, spread the word.
I'm with you too, Alex.
Excellent, excellent, good job. So no more comments. Ms. Gaskell, noted comments from the audience. Thank you for bringing another option for our kids. With that, we will, thank you, sir. We will now close this public hearing. It is 7:42. All right, are we ready? Ready? Okay. Let me get back to the computer. We will, 7:42. It is 7:42, and we will now call the regular meeting back to order. And the first agenda item is the approval of the board minutes for the public meeting June 21st, 2016, and the regular meeting June 21st, 2016. A motion from Mr. Holt, is there a second? Second from Mr. Thomas. Is there any discussions, comments, or corrections? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. No opposition, and motion passes. Next agenda item is the consideration and approval of the proposed board policy change in accordance with the TASB Localized District Update DNA Local. Mr. Room.
Unless there are any questions, you'll have a chance to review it.
Board members, you've had the information in front of you and had an opportunity to review. Are there any questions? I have a motion for approval from Mr. Reyes. Is there a second? A second from Mr. Holt. Once again, are there any questions, comments? Okay, hearing none. We do have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. No opposition. That motion passes. Thank you, sir. Next agenda item is a consideration and approval of the proposed board policy change in accordance with the TASB Localized District Update of FFA Local. Mr. Roman.
If there's any questions, then feel free.
I did have a motion from Mr. Holt. Is there a second? Second from Mr. Reyes. The motion is made by Mr. Holt. Second from Mr. Reyes. Is there any discussion in regards to the TASB Localized District Update FFA Local? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. No opposition. Motion passes. Thank you. Next agenda item is designate the official voting delegate and alternate to the 2016 TASB Delegate Assembly in Houston, Texas, being held September 23rd to 25th. I will make make the motion to designate Mr. Louis Reyes as the voting delegate and Ms. Barbara Effenberger as the alternate for the Delegate Assembly.
Second.
I made the motion. That was a second by Mr. Reyes. Is there any discussion? Once again, this is Mr. Reyes. You're required to attend, and if unable, Ms. Effenberger. Very good, very good. Motion to debate and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, no discussion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. No opposition. That motion passes. Thank you, board members, for serving. Next agenda item is a consideration and possible action to order a general election for November 8, 2016 for trustees in single-member District 1, 3, 6, and a special election in single-member District 7. Mr. Rohn.
That's pretty self-explanatory. So.
Motion has been made by Mr. Holt. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Guerra. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. No opposition. That motion passes. Thank you. Next agenda item is the approval of the credit by exam dates for 2016-2017. Mr. Rowe.
You have any questions on that? We're expanding the days.
All right, you have the recommendation from administration. I have a motion for approval from Mr. Holt. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Thomas. Is there any discussion in regards to the approval of the credit by exam dates for 2016-2017? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. All opposed, same sign. No opposition, that motion passes. And next agenda item is here we go, the approval of the budget reports and amendments for May 2016. Do I have a motion for approval? Motion is made by Ms. Effenberger. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Guerra. Is there any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor say aye. All opposed, same sign. No opposition. That motion passes. And next agenda item is approval of the tax collection reports for June 2016. Mr. Roman, is there any discussion?
This is business as usual. If you all have some questions, let me know.
Do I have a motion for approval? The motion is made by Mr. Reyes. Is there a second? Second by Ms. Effenberger. Is there any discussion, comments, or questions? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye. All opposed, same sign. No opposition. That motion passes. Next agenda item is the approval of board resolution and interlocal participation agreement to join the Central Texas Purchasing Alliance. Mr. Rowe.
It's just another way to purchase goods through a cooperative, I believe. So, pretty common practice.
You've
If
heard,
anyone has any questions, we'll be happy to go over them.
you've heard the recommendation from administration. Do I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Motion is made by Mr. Holt. Is there a second? Second by Ms. Effenberger. Are there any questions? Comments? Yes, sir, Mr. Holt.
Is there typically, I know that we've approved a couple of different purchasing alliances. This one has a $50 per year fee. I haven't seen any prior ones that had an annual fee. Is this typical of some of these?
It's pretty standard, yeah. There's usually a nominal, minimal fee, something of this nature.
Okay. I was just wondering, I noticed that was there.
Is there any other discussions, comments, questions? Hearing none, motion was made and a second, and all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition, same sign. Hearing none, motion passes. Next agenda item is to discuss and approve a resolution authorizing the issuance of Seguin ISD Maintenance Tax Notes Series 2016Z, the QZAB, delegating the pricing term and other matters to the superintendent and the CFO and other matters related thereto. Mr. Rowe.
Silver.
President Flores, members of the board, Superintendent Roan. Obviously, this program has created some concern. Hard to explain why. It's not an uncommon tool to be used throughout the nation, throughout Texas. But in an effort to alleviate some of the concerns, we do have our bond counsel from Andrews Kurth. His name is Thomas Sage, and what we'd like to do is give him an opportunity to answer any questions you might have, and make sure that everyone understands that this is a legitimate and legal, and that the district is going to do what is in its best interest financially in using this tool. And I'd also like to mention that nothing has been signed. We simply have approval at this point in time. No negotiations have taken place. So everything is up for discussion, and we'll give Mr. Sage an opportunity to answer your questions now.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hubbard. Board, Superintendent, good evening. It's a pleasure to see you. My name is Tom Sage. I'm with Andrews Kurth. I'm a bond lawyer. Many people have no idea what that is, and that's generally pretty normal. Really what I do, I work with school districts all over the state in working through financing facilities and whether there's the issuance of voted bonds, maintenance tax notes, or various vehicles that we have available to us to finance facilities. As Mr. Hilbert mentioned, it's always interesting how certain things can kind of get people riled up. QZABs are one of the most boring things on earth, and it's really interesting. Just to make sure we all know what we're talking about, qualified zone academy bonds were authorized in, I believe, 1998. Actually, Chuck Rangel out of New York was the sponsor of the bill through the House of Representatives and the Senate, pushed it through. This is a product that is allocated on an annual basis to all the states based on their per capita population. And school districts that qualify for this type of debt receive an award from the state, and that gives them the ability to go issue qualified zone academy bonds, which is a federal designation for otherwise permitted state indebtedness. So this can go on your voted bonds, this can go on maintenance tax notes, contractual obligations, time warrants, everything that you have available to issue under state law. It is simply, it allows a characterization for the owners of these bonds to receive a tax credit in lieu of or in addition to interest on their bonds. It's a taxable product. So if they were to receive interest, they would pay income tax on it versus your tax-exempt debt that school districts traditionally issue. That's it. That's QZABs. Right now, the tax credit rate is 4%. And so in visiting with your financial advisor, it looks like we should be able to issue these maintenance tax notes based on your AA credit, your grade credit at or near 0%. I've heard a lot of at 0%, but I always am, as a lawyer, I'm afraid to say at 0% because 0 means 0. But one of the things that's unique about issuing debt at 0% is that we can avail ourselves of some pretty aggressive strategies. I developed these in the 90s, and we've used them all over the state. They've been looked at by the IRS, completely fine. What we're able to do, depending on the buyer of the bonds, is potentially stretch out the debt to pay basically all the principal off very late. In the interim, we set aside money every year so that you don't have a $6, $8, $10 million, however much you want to issue, bill due in 15, 20 years. As you can imagine, that would be a big hit on the tax rate that year. But as we set money aside, we're able to invest it. And just like the magic of compound interest, you're going to be able to earn on that money under certain limits that are set by the IRS. And if you can get to 0%, almost every one of those cases where we've structured it that way, the school district actually pays back less principal than you borrow. It's a fantastic structure. It's a wonderful program. The real barrier to entry is getting the 10% private business contribution, and your booster club is generously provided that. So that's what keeps people from issuing more of this. It's very difficult for school districts to raise donations because you're already taxing people, so it's a difficult thing to ask. In addition, when I was contacted, so that's QZABs. When I was contacted about this by the superintendent and visited Mr. Hilbert, my assignment was actually pretty simple. It was really two parts. Number one, make sure everything we were doing was lawful under state and federal law. And secondarily, to think through the project, to think through the application of this project to these proceeds to your projects, and try to recommend what we saw as the best course forward. And that's what you see in the letter that I wrote to the board. What we looked at, in particular with the scoreboard, there seemed to be a lot of attention on that. QZABs are available for the construction equipment of school buildings. I mean, that's voted bonds for the renovation and rehabilitation of school buildings and the purchase of equipment for school buildings, as well as other programmatic expenses. A scoreboard is equipping a school facility. And school buildings under state law as well as federal law is a pretty expansive term. I mean, school buildings aren't just the instructional space. I mean, you have administrative offices, you have gymnasium, you have cafeteria, you have auditorium, you have parking lots, you have police facilities in some school districts. I mean, it's a lot of things. So long as it is attached to the campus that qualifies for qualified zone academy bonds, it's been permitted. We looked at that. We came to that conclusion. We wanted to make extra sure, so we contacted the Treasury Department and the gentleman who's in charge of tax credit products for the United States, and he confirmed this. I mean, this is not something that gives any concern to the use of QZABs for a scoreboard, whether it has the Jumbotron on it or just the lights like I grew up on, where it just shows the numbers and you click them. So we had that comfort. Then we started looking at really what the goal was for this facility, what the goal was for this improvement. There are a tremendous amount of programs that y'all are planning to tie to this, with your graphic design, with your kind of the multimedia aspects of this you can work on with your students. In addition, there's an opportunity to generate revenue for the district through offering advertising opportunities on the school board, whether it be live commercials or fixed plaque advertising or however else you want to handle that. The one thing we ran into was under QZABs. You can have 0 private business use. And you're getting a lot of bond law here, so I'm sorry. But under normal tax exempt bond, you can have up to 10% private business use. And this allows you to have things like a Quiznos in your school or something like, there's different things that are in different, you think of all the tax exempt facilities that are built all across America, colleges, schools, city halls, community centers, anything else. There's oftentimes a small amount of private business use. There are reserved parking spaces. There are, like I said, Quiznos at University of Houston Law School. We had Quiznos in the basement, that's why I did it. So there are things like that that are permitted. With qualified zone academy bonds and qualified school construction bonds and other tax credit products, you are allowed 0 private business use. And 0 means 0. You can't generate 1 penny of private business use off of that building, off of that facility. And as we started looking at that and tried to balance, really, okay, if we're going to try to pursue this, and we're going to try to generate revenue from this facility to help, number 1, pay down the debt, and number 2, offset the tax burden to your citizens, are there some other things we can look at? And the administration, your CFO, everyone have been incredibly helpful in looking at that. We pulled your budgets, we went through various projects. Mr. Helberg, one of the things we looked at was in your high school project, the school district was planning to spend a significant amount of your fund balance on that project. And there were components of both the renovation piece as well as some of the equipment purchases, your FF&E, which is the furniture, that would qualify for QZAB use. And so what we were able to do is to look at financing those expenditures versus spending cash, thereby freeing up $4-5 million in cash. I had it here up on my phone, and I'm trying to make sure there it is, on our spreadsheet that we were going to save in order to fund your scoreboard out of cash, if you'd like to. Whether you fund it or not is up to you. But what we found is that was really the most efficient use of qualified zone academy bonds. The other thing we're looking at and talking to the administration about is, there's if you will, a tension in the policy issues in front of us. Number 1, there's a significant amount of fiscal discipline that is exerted by doing pay-as-you-go projects. It's a very, very good way to manage your cash, to stay disciplined, not get out ahead of yourself. But on the other hand, you're looking at long-term 0% debt. General rule, if you can borrow at 0%, is you take all you can for as long as you can. But you really don't want to do that. So what we went through is looked at a number of district needs, a number of district improvements, a number of equipment purchases, safety improvements, parking lot improvements, HVAC improvements, other energy efficiency improvements, as well as the other improvements at the stadium to make it ADA compliant and to fix some other things that y'all needed fixing over there. So we have identified in excess of, back up, you were awarded up to $10 million from the state. And we've identified in excess of $10 million of these types of projects. And it's really going to be up to you and the administration to decide how much of that you would like to avail yourself of. One of the things that we're going to need to do, because we've re-examined this, we will go back to the state and amend our application. It's something that's handled routinely. I work with folks there all the time. It's generally done by email. There's not much of a formal process to it. And so with that, I'm happy to answer any questions about the first time you've met me, if you want to ask about me, about the project, about QZABs, about kind of any of the above. But,
yes, sir. Definitely open it up to board members. Yes, sir, Mr. Holt.
Okay, I've got a few questions from my constituents that
yes, sir.
Address this. One was clarify how we pay you to do what you've been doing for us.
Sure. We're compensated when we close the bond, when we close the financing. One of the good and bad things about bond counsel practice is we're compensated if you will, on a contingent basis, and it's contingent on closing the financing that you hired us to handle. The fee that I quoted the district is $27,000, and that's regardless of whether it's 1 million QZABs or 10 million QZABs. So the more you borrow, the cheaper I am, I guess. But that's how we're compensated. And we can be paid out of cash or out of the financing. I don't care.
Now, whether that was, a question on that, if you don't mind, whether it's QZAB or whether it's regular bonds being sold, that's how council is paid by, is that correct?
Every bond council
Okay,
is
I
compensated.
just want to clarify, make sure that nobody states there's additional expenses on that.
Okay.
Thank you.
I mean, that came up. The second one was a TEA representative had stated to our local media that we could not use these, and yet you were coming and saying that we can use this for different aspects. You did note that the fact that if we did use it for a Jumbotron purchase or a multi-social media purchase, that would have to be a non-advertising item. And I'm not certain what the TEA representative was speaking of, but I mean, you've been dealing with this, you said, since the early 90s, and I got an article from Art Stellar about the QZAB and how the superintendents all over the United States are using this. And
sure.
This is not something new, this is not something that is anywhere, and apparently there's still like $18 billion out there that's not even being used in like Tennessee and everything. I mean, they're not even tapping into it, so.
Yes, sir. We've tried to have some transfer between the states, but just, you're dealing with the state government is difficult enough.
Texas needs to get more of it, I
Yes,
guess.
what I can speak to that, I mean, I can't speak to the motivation or the thought process behind the statement from the TEA. I think that it is a very unusual product, a very niche practice, which is kind of bond counsel practice, and it's easy to not be correct on it. I mean, and I think that, I don't think they were trying to lie, I don't think they were trying to mislead people, but, I mean, given the size and scope of our practice, we have access to people like the gentleman who's in charge of this for the U.S. Treasury and things like that. And so we're able to work on it at that level. And, it's just like if you went to see a heart surgeon and somebody told you that they thought you think it's your left atrium or something like that. Get somebody there, take the pictures and get the expert to look at it. So, I mean, I think that they certainly had the district's best interest at heart, but it's something very easy to be confused on.
I'll turn it over.
Anything else? Oh.
There's one more.
Go
ahead, no, go ahead.
Yes, ma'am.
I have a question about voting on this issue. If I vote in favor of the issuance of this resolution to pass this bond, am I committed to supporting the expenses also as part of that package? Like, if I say yes to this, am I voting for the Jumbotron?
On that, definitely no. As far as the Jumbotron, I mean, we have a mix of projects that we were going to include in the application to the state, and I can read through them. But as far as the Jumbotron, that's going to be a cash expenditure of the district, and therefore, I presume, given the size of the expenditure, it would come back to you for your approval later.
I think it's wonderful to have this opportunity to get low interest on things that will help us with other expenses, but I'm not in favor of getting that Jumbotron.
Okay, and that's a separate issue, and whether the board's already considered it, approved it, or whether it's coming back to you, I'll defer to your administration.
Thank you, Ms. Zucker. Yes, sir, Mr. Earl.
I found the other one.
All right.
And it does state, you addressed the 0 to low percent interest because people are questioning, whether is it 0 or is it low percent? But you explained that that doesn't happen until you go out for the bonds, correct?
Sure. I mean, it's a question of marketing the debt and finding a purchaser of the debt. Given that interest rates right now are at, and I'm treading on your financial advisor's turf, but I'll give you the lawyer version. Interest rates are at historic lows, and in the municipal space, even more so. People are issuing 30-year PSF debt in the 2.5% range. So we're talking about doing debt that's significantly shorter, probably in the 15-ish to 20-year range, depending on what a bank would take or how far they'll go. And the maximum credit rate right now, or the credit rate today, is 4%. So so long as the 4% would be within the AA pricing for a 15 to 20-year piece of debt, then you hit 0%. And it's that simple. I mean, if the market yields are 4.1%, then we're gonna pay 10 basis points. I mean, I can't tell you what it's gonna be on the day we price.
Right.
But it looks extremely favorable right now.
And then
Okay, hey, John, can I jump in on that one
Sure,
before?
go ahead.
And on that, I'm gonna defer, and if you don't mind,
Sure.
Mr. Quiroga, I was gonna say our FA, and obviously this is between both of you. Obviously, we all know that the interest rate's low, as you indicated, because Mr. Quiroga has come to the district in the last 6 months and saved the district over $6 million, or let me rephrase it, saved the taxpayers over $6 million because of the low interest rates. Now, the question is, say you were to go to, and this is my assumption, say you were to go to the cell and you go and see that it's at 3%. Obviously, you have to get the approval from the district to say, yeah, I want to buy at 3%, or wait till we get a 0%, correct? Either one.
It's actually more my question.
Oh, okay, all right.
The resolution that's being prepared for your consideration delegates the authority to effectuate the sale to the superintendent, Mr. Helber. However, you can set boundaries on that delegation. One of those can include a maximum interest rate. Not with the credit, but you can have it any way you want, as a matter of fact. So if there is a maximum interest rate exposure that the board is comfortable delegating, then we pick it. Is that 1%? Is that 2%? I mean, I think both of those are pretty actually generous allowances. But at what point would you like this transaction to come back to the board is really the question. And, you know, and on my way here, it's not that big a deal. I drive all over the state, so I'm happy to come back another time if rates move against us. So it really is a question of, you know, given what we're doing, given where the market is, and given what you're seeing with the substitution of borrowed capital versus using cash, at what level are you comfortable going forward? And I can't tell you what that is. It's your comfort level.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Yeah, thanks.
I've
Yes,
got
sir.
two more questions. I'm sorry. I'm gonna question you that, but I've got to answer these for these people. The academy aspect of it, the designing and building an academy out of it. This could be of any type of academy, whether it be, could for say the flexible school day academies.
Sure.
As long as
The
we put some
equipment
money in
associated with that. I
there.
mean, a qualified zone academy is simply a federal definition in the code.
Okay.
And a qualified zone academy is a primary or secondary educational facility where you meet certain free and reduced lunch requirements. And I think it's 75%, I think, of the students are free and reduced lunch. Please don't quote me on that. I'm trying to know it. Sorry, 90%. And in these cases, we meet that at the campuses involved, and that's qualified zone academy. It doesn't have any other real character to it.
And then how do we as a district structure the repayment of this? Does this come out of, like, do we repay it out of the fund? But I know she said that we set some money aside each year.
Well, it's payable out of your M&O budget. It's not payable out of your voted debt. It's not voted, so you're gonna have to pay this out of your M&O budget.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sage. Any other questions from board members? Be able to call for the question. Okay. Mr. Sage, thank you. Mr. Quiroga, I thank you for the deep explanation on that. So with that, you've heard the recommendation for administration. Do I have a motion for approval?
I would like to make a motion, President Flores.
Motion made by Mr. Holt. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Guerra. Are there any other discussion? Is there any other discussion or any other questions?
Yes, President Flores.
Yes, sir.
I would like to add to that motion also as Mr. Sage had mentioned, a limitation to whatever the board we can discuss and determine the limitation to the interest rate, because that is of a concern. I mean, you know, people, if it's 0%, it's great, but I mean, if we're going to go at some percentage, I mean, you know, if we take $10 million, at 1%, $10 million is still a lot of money for the taxpayers. So I think we need to actually look at bringing it back to us if it's going to exceed a certain percentage, as discussed just recently.
Very well.
Stage.
Yeah, you're gonna have to
I
reset.
mean, that's, I think it's something we need to discuss as a board, is 1%, I mean, per council, 1%, 2% seems to be.
I'm gonna open,
about.
yes, we need to open this up for discussion. Mr. Sage, yes, sir?
Sure, I do think in order to approve this, we will need to decide that. So, I mean, I think it really is where you feel comfortable. I mean, 2% is extremely low. I think the numbers we're seeing, I
Historically, what have you
think
seen districts do on a limitation in accepting or authorizing this issuance?
around 1%.
1%?
Because, I mean, we're expecting near 0%. I mean, I think that's the real expectation of this board, and that's the expectation of your team, that you're going to be at or near 0%. I think that if we see a supplemental interest coupon on this, it's going to be something extremely low unless we're all very, very wrong. And if we are, we'll come back, if we are, we'll come back. Right, if we are, we'll come back here and tell you that the market is completely against us and here's where we are and you're not to afford. But I think 1% is a healthy cushion.
Okay, well then I would amend the motion to add a 1% limitation on the interest as well.
Motion's been made, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Gibb. Mr. Rome, did you have a comment?
Yes, I have just a simple, want to make sure I clarified this. So, because I'm going to be the one pulling the trigger. And I started this because I wanted to get 0% interest. 0% interest has been the goal from the get-go. So we can talk about 1% all we want. But you, my friend, know what I expect.
We understand.
Okay, so it's not 1%. The expectation is 0%.
That's what we'll go with.
So, and we are all on page for me, if I can get this at no cost to us. Y'all will approve that? I can pull the trigger at 0 cost to y'all? We'll be good, right?
Of course.
Okay, that's what I'm gonna try to do. That's what you'll get done.
Very good, very good.
And it's my understanding, I mean, he stated it, that, you know, we set money aside throughout the years and invest that money, and ultimately, we may borrow 10 million, but we may only pay back as a district 6 million out of our own pockets.
It probably won't be that good. It'll be more like.
Well, I mean,
it'll be more like 9.
hey, man, I gotta be optimistic here. I mean, you know, I'm gonna try to save them money, as much money as possible, and I hope you do too. But,
Yes, sir.
I mean, but yeah, I mean, you know, that's what we're looking for, and if we can save the taxpayers any money, and this is stuff that, you know, like, we just approved, what, $85,000 per, you know, $85,000 for an HVAC system, that we could have taken that from QZAP fund.
Yes, sir.
And from my understanding, we have 3 years to utilize this $10 million, if I'm not,
Yes, sir.
correct me if I'm wrong.
That's correct.
That's correct.
From what I read, we have 3 years to spend it, so I mean, there's going to be
Projects.
facilities.
There's gonna be projects that need it.
We're gonna need this money, that we don't have to actually go out and ask these people out here for additional money to do.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
All right, we have a
I just want to make one quick comment. There are some funds here that can be used if we do it the right way, where we have hit the taxpayers with $80-something million in bonds. Can you come up here, Mr. Quiroga, please? At what interest rate did you sell the $84 million worth of bonds that the taxpayers authorized?
We sold those in 2 sets of bond issuances over 2 years, and they were in the 3 to 4% interest rate range.
Okay, so if I do simple math, and I say, well, you know what, if some of those things that the taxpayers originally thought they may have to pay for out of that 3% interest yield, what if we were able to find some things that qualify that we have yet to spend that money on, thereby saving that 3% over 15 years? Now, my question is let's just do simple math. If it was $15 million, and we did that for 15 years at 3% interest, but we were able to offset that interest with some QZAP funds, at the end of the debt payment, we would have saved about $15 million in interest. That's why we have more sophisticated, I'm not that sophisticated, I'm a simple person. But that's what we're exploring right now with the $10 million. We're going to do whatever we can to try to cut the building projects to make up ground. And we're going to use the best and the smartest and the brightest. And the second thing is that you are our main guy. As of right now, if we decide not to sell any of this, if we get approval and I can't get the interest rate I want, Mr. Sage, how much money is the district going to owe you if we don't buy this? If we decide no more, we don't want 0% interest.
Zero.
How much?
0.
Okay, so it's 0. So 0 is a popular number around here.
0 is
Good.
popular.
Okay, so
Not
everybody
around
here,
my office.
that's right. That's my point. So in my office it is. My deal is, all I'm saying is I want y'all to make our money for us.
That's right.
And I want to be more aggressive in doing that. That's the whole goal.
That's right.
And how many of these QZAP things have you done?
Honestly, I don't know, sir. I mean,
Is that because you can't count, or is
I
it a
can't
bunch?
count. It's a bunch.
Okay,
It's a bunch.
all right, okay. Thank you.
Call for the questions. We have a motion and a second. No further discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. No opposition, motion passes. And next agenda item is, we do not need to go into closed session, so at this moment it is 8:16 and this meeting is adjourned.
I'd like to make a comment.
Agenda item.
I know it's on our district website, but I think it needs to be said publicly. Caleb Marino, one of our recent graduates from Seguin High School, attended the state solo and ensemble for percussion and received a, get my notes back here.
Go with the webpage.
A Outstanding Performance Award, which is issued by the UIL state competition. Out of 100,000 participants, 2 to 3% of those participants will receive this award, and he was one of the people here in Seguin that received it. And I want to commend him. I want to congratulate him, congratulate his efforts, and I just want to say that that's part of our school out there. Our band department, our band program is creating outstanding performers, and I think he is one of 2 people in the area that actually received it, in our local area here, that received that. And I think that's phenomenal. I just want to give him a round of applause for that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any announcements from any board members? All right, that adjourns this meeting. Thank you.